What you been cooking? Anything new, or just if you? Obviously, everyone's cooking more and everyone's eating more. My waistline is testament to that.
You and me
Sadly,
both, sister.
sadly.
You and me both. We're all. We were joking about a colleague of hers today who kind of warned them that during this lockdown, I've been eating a lot, and I know I have put on weight. So let me just warn you: if you see me, don't say a word. Don't comment. I don't want to see your face looking shocked.
Welcome to another edition of the Fabulous Woman podcast. I'm your host, journalist and broadcaster Marvarine Cole. It's another story of inspiration, triumph and joy today with my friend Evadney Campbell MBE, a former journalist. She wrote a book while she was having chemotherapy. Let's get started. Evadney, how are you? You look fabulous.
Well, I'm feeling great. I am really feeling great. You'll hear more about my struggles with lockdown, but actually I'm feeling good.
Excellent. And I love the colours in your head wrap today. You got to give me some pointers, really.
This is the media side. You know what it's like. It's like, okay, let's find something that's bright, that's going to stand out. Yeah.
Look fantastic. You do not want to see me in on my yard days when I'm just like, I'm not doing anything with my hair. And you know that guilt you go through when you're like, I didn't twist my hair tonight. Yeah. I didn't this. And it's like, So it's lovely to kind of like dress up and be the kind of work person that we normally are. So let's dive in then. Let's talk about your life pre-lockdown. Give us a flavour of what it's like, because I know you're a super busy lady, and we're both ex-BBC journalists. We've been there, we've seen it all.
Yes,
but you've
done that.
Exactly. But long since you've you're enjoying a brilliant career as a media consultant and PR professional. So tell us more about your life pre-lockdown.
Well, actually, to be fair, my life pre-lockdown hasn't changed dramatically. And that's because, as you know, I run a small PR company and media training. So I do a number of training courses. And I think if there's been any major changes, it's within that side of the business. Because generally, of course, I lecture at a couple of universities, and I would be going into the universities to do my day's work with them. So I've had to do that virtually, and that's been a challenge. But the PR side of things, apart from the fact that pre-lockdown, I would go to lots of meetings. My time was constantly going to meet clients at home, or in their business, in a cafe somewhere. I'm now having to do things virtually. At the moment, for instance, we're working with a client that we started with last year, and they were here in the UK for the project. So we did everything. We'd meet up in a cafe somewhere and have our meetings. We're now once a week on Zoom. She's in Canada. Her team now have gone back all over the place. So she has members in Jamaica. She has other member of her team is in Trinidad. Another one is in Canada. Another one, and then who representing her sat in the UK. So it's really interesting. Whereas before, she was here for like 4 months throughout the previous project. So we met regularly and kind of so.
How's that going then in terms of that disbursement of your clients and all that kind of change in your clients not being able to be physically in front of you?
Well, thank goodness for technology. That's all I can say. Because honestly, I mean, I worked from home anyway. I had an office before I became ill a couple of years ago. I had an office that I used to work from. And when I became ill, I gave that up. And after I finished my treatment, I thought, you know what, I can work from home. It'll save me paying out on an office space. And I was trying to rebuild the business. So working from home has been the norm for me, apart from the fact, like I said, I took every opportunity to go out and meet clients. So now I'm saying, well, can we have a teleconferencing call, or can I do a Zoom, or can I do, whatever system they use? But with my client in Canada, it's actually worked out better because of the fact that her team is so dispersed. We come together once a week from all over the world, and we're fine.
Wow.
We're just in one room talking every week at the same time we meet. And so actually that's worked out well, because it means that her team that I used to just speak to online with my email, I'm seeing them.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I can
absolutely.
put faces to them, and that's
really important.
So it's actually worked out better in that.
Do you think it's going to change the face of business overall now that we've been forced into a position of becoming familiar with Zoom, Skype, Teams, you name it, they're all out there. I think I use them all, right? And I bet you do too. We're all so much more familiar with that now. Do you think that's going to change the face of kind of business operations in general for those kind of companies who can move a little bit more towards this kind of online tech?
Absolutely. Because, even when I worked for the BBC, I was very fortunate that for at least a 6-year period, I was based at home for the BBC. And I know for a fact that because I was one of the few reporters that worked from a home base, I actually threw myself into working maybe 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, because
Wow.
I wanted to, you knew that your colleagues at base were under the impression that you weren't working as hard as they were because you're at home. And so you wanted to overcompensate, And so in a sense, I've been working from home, but I think what will happen now, companies that have been forced into that situation will now see that actually this can work. Our staff can be productive, and in a lot of cases, far more so, because they don't have the interruptions that they would have in the office. They're not stopping to talk to each other as they would have done in the office. They're not running off every second to make cups of tea as they do in the office.
Oh, I like that, though.
So, I mean, my daughter is working from home. She has, they started home working just before the lockdown. And she's very, very structured. She's in the office at 9:00. She comes out for lunch at 1:00. She goes back at 2:00, and so on. But she's like that. She misses the office interaction, and she really misses the time with her colleagues in the office. Because I've not known it for a long time, for me, what this has done has actually relaxed me a little bit, because I realize now that there are lots more people in the situation who are working from home, and therefore people understand some of the challenges that working from home brings. And I'm pretty sure for those people with children, it may seem like a godsend, but I would imagine this has been a terrible time trying to work from home with children.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I think it's so complex, isn't it? I hear you. Totally makes sense when you say when you were working from home with the BB, you felt like you needed to do more. And I think some people feel at the moment that they are having to kind of overcompensate, or they feel like they're working harder during the lockdown. Yeah. I definitely know I feel as if I'm kind of like the clappers, to be honest, when I'm working. But then I totally get what you were saying, how your daughter feels, because I really miss my colleagues, having that little bit of a chat to them in the morning, or when you catch them in the corridor, just quick catch up about something that, I'm not going to waste an email. Let me just go next door to their office and just see if they're there, so I can just communicate this bit, and we can have a quick chat and solve that problem. And just to stretch your legs, get a cup of tea, just a different environment. I'm feeling loss big time.
Yeah. But I think as humans, we need that.
Yeah,
humans
totally.
Need that interaction. Yeah. So whilst I think the world, you asking about business changes, I think the world has changed. And I think there's going to be a new norm.
Yeah.
And hopefully what it will be is that employers will be able to be more flexible. and understand that we need both. We need that interaction with our colleagues, building that bonding with your colleagues. Like you said, sometimes you don't want to have, some things doesn't need to be emailed. It's a quick conversation, and we still need that. But equally, they won't be that shock horror that somebody says, I'd like to work from home today because it's easier. I've got someone coming in, and if I can carry on working from home. Because how many of us have had to take leave because we're waiting for a delivery that turns up at 6:00 in the evening? And you've wasted your day.
Or not at all sometimes.
Exactly. Or not at all.
One time I did that for Argos, and they were like 8 till 6 p.m. And at 7 p.m. I was still sitting there and trying to get through to the call centre going, where are my kids?
Yeah.
It's strange. And psychologically, it's tough to deal with. But, what's great is there's lots of information out there about how you can kind of use anonymous sources, anonymous charities that will help you around your kind of emotional well-being and things like that. And I think we're all very much more now in tune with those places that we can kind of go to get help and strategies of self-care and all that sort of thing. Who are you sharing your abode with during the lockdown, and what is life like for you now?
Well, I'm sharing my abode with my daughter because she had her own place in London, and I on my own in London. So we just thought, if we're going to be in lockdown, we might as well be in lockdown together. Yeah. So I'm sharing my abode with her, which has been really, the strange thing is, and I've been saying this to lots of people, working from home is one thing when you choose to work from home. When someone, and because you, in your head, you have the freedom to work from home or go into a cafe or whatever. Somebody says, stay at home. You're not allowed to go out once a day. That has been the most challenging thing. And initially, I've changed though, but initially, I was finding any excuse to go to the shops. Oh, I just need this. And I need to go to the shop. Yes. That concept of being told to stay home has been really hard. So, and like I said, my daughter is very disciplined. In that she does do her 9. In fact, she's probably, I said to her yesterday, I think you're giving more hours because she never finishes before 6. What? And I said, as a rule, you don't do that at work.
That's crazy.
So, yeah.
He's up on that.
But at least that time in the evening is when I would be sitting down, watching the TV on my own, reading a book, on the internet, whatever. Now you have someone you can communicate with. So that has sharing abode with her has been good. And strangely enough, even she was saying that the other day, we couldn't really, and we've always got on, but I did worry.
Good. I was going to say.
No, we've always got on. But the fact is she's lived on her own for a long time, and so have I. So I did worry how that was going to work out, suddenly she's back home. And it's actually been fine. We've been cooking. Oh my goodness.
What you've been cooking? Anything new, or just, obviously everyone's cooking more and everyone's eating more. My waistline is testament to that.
You and me both, sister. You and me both. We're all, we were joking about a colleague of hers today who kind of warned them that during this lockdown, I've been eating a lot, and I know I have put on weight. So let me just warn you, if you see me, don't say a word. Don't comment. I don't want to see your face looking shocked. Because I know. So we've all been cooking, which is great, but we've all been eating an awful lot more. I think what I've done, though, I haven't necessarily been cooking things that are different, but I've been cooking more traditional Jamaican food, which I'd never bothered with before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Evadney, you strike me as a lady who'd be cooking. I mean, not quite like Saturday soup, because I don't go down those routes.
Yeah, do it.
But but every Saturday, because I'm going to do every Saturday.
Oh, no.
Okay, so give us a flavour. Yeah. What have you been making?
So let me tell you what we made this week. That has been really a nice one for us because we both went online. We've made this coconut deep fried chicken.
Oh.
honestly, it was delicious.
Just the words. Just the words.
I know. Is this the coconut deep fried chicken? So we made that this week. And
Talk to me about that, just real quick. What?
And it's really simple. It's very straightforward. For all you did is the chicken pieces. You season it up like we would normally, and then you leave it to marinate in coconut milk. So you just leave it to marinate. If you can for an hour, great. If not, give it at least 15 minutes or so. And then you just take the chicken pieces and dip it in seasoned flour or just flour and deep fry it.
Oh, mercy.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So that we're very happy
Trying
with.
that one.
We are now going to bought bananas, so we're going to join the banana baking crew because everybody's making banana bread. What is it with banana bread?
I have no idea. I'd love to try and make some bread. Can't get flour or any baking goods.
I managed to get flour for the first time. When did I go for flour? I went out. Today's Friday, so I went out on Wednesday, and I managed to get flour.
I tell you.
And I ended up having to tell off somebody. I know it's just terrible, but I wasn't going to say anything. Then I thought, no. I was in the shop, and there was only 4 bags of plain flour left.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. 5 bags of plain flour left. And this gentleman comes, promptly picks up all 5 bags.
Yeah. Isn't there meant to be a limit of 3 generally across the country for everything?
I thought.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to say anything because I just, when you mumble to yourself, I'm pretty selfish. But anyway.
I can hear you patois muttering from it.
Anyway.
I know what you'd say as well.
I just thought. So I said, it's a bit selfish, isn't it? And he said, oh, well, I've only taken 5 bags. I said, yes, but there are only 5 bags there. Don't you think that you could have left it just in case someone else wants one? I said, this is really selfish of you to take up all of what is there, and then somebody else who may just want one isn't able to get it, and then he kind of flounced off. But I just thought, yeah, I'm sorry, but this is just, in this situation, it's just really bad. Don't be so selfish. Think of other people.
Good for you on telling him as well.
So I felt good that I had said it.
Good. And I tell you what, because sometimes, obviously, all our key workers in the supermarkets are super busy. They might not have been able to stop him when they got to the till. So good on you.
I just thought it was wrong. And I was just, there's one thing out of this, and I know you want to talk about how we're coping during COVID, but one of the things that has been really good is how much people are caring for each other.
Yeah. Without a doubt, that kind of, that sudden goodwill and communities coming together. A student nurse at my university at BCU, she rallied round to get lots of local people, on a kind of a mailing list, a group, to then be able to deliver food and anything else that vulnerable elderly people needed in our immediate area. And she did that literally in a week and a half, and made it onto local news and national news. It's just phenomenal. She's just one example of how many hundreds of thousands of people are doing that right now, or helping in that effort. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. I think people have been, especially for those of us who are either have been in the media or relate to the media a lot. We have been bombarded with negative stories, and we are forgiven to think that people have lost that sense of caring, and we believe that everybody was awful. And then suddenly something like this happens, and you see the way people have come together. I mean, yesterday I was talking to my students, and I was asking about what news, because they're all from all over the world, from China, from Philippines, from all over. And I was asking about news at homes, because we're dealing with news, and how is it portrayed, and what did they listen to? And a number of them talked about Captain Tom. This is incredible. It's a 100-year-old man who's now raised £33 million.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I remember, was it 3 weeks ago, when BBC News did a lunchtime live with him, and it was, we're nearly approaching £1.5 million. And I was like, wow. And then to see how it's snowballed and just gone viral around the world is brilliant. It's so cute.
It is. So Out of every every disaster, some good comes out, you know, and I think that's something I've seen, and I'm getting text messages from people I haven't spoken to for years, checking, how are you doing? Just seeing if you're all right. I've always been a healthy eater anyway. I've never been one to eat junk food, and I've always been a home-cooked person and eat lots of vegetables. That's just me. But I don't, if I'm not one of these people, strangely enough, and I watch these cookery programs and they say, oh, everybody loves chocolate. And I think, oh, really?
Oh, chocolate. Okay, you're not.
Yeah, you know, so I'm saying, so I'm not a chocolatey person. I'm not really a biscuity person. So I've never been the kind of person who is sitting there snacking on chocolates or biscuits. I'm one of these people, I'll buy a bar of chocolate today and 3 months later you'll see half of it in the fridge.
No way, that's amazing.
So I've always been, if you give me a packet of crackers, it'll be gone.
Oh, okay.
So
That's your savory.
Yeah. And so I've started taking more vitamins. I have definitely started taking more natural herbs as well. And I do my vitamin D every day. And I think that's partly as Black people, we struggle in this, especially when we've had such a poor summer in terms of our vitamin D levels. So I've taken vitamin D supplements, and I've taken it for quite a while, but I think I'm more rigid now because I know we need to build up our immune system. So, I've deliberately bought multivitamins and I think it's primrose oil, and I take couple of natural herbs, and I've done those, and I think I've stuck to them a bit more rigidly because of this unknown nature of this virus and the fact that I know our immune system is important.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and the news is very, very clear in that, you know, people of our origin, African and Caribbean origin, are more prone to the virus, as we see that in the figures, the data that is now being investigated, you know, with Public Health England. So it's a horrid fact, but at least it's been recognised, and now there'll be much more research, and nursing staff are being advised. Nursing staff of African and Caribbean origin are being advised now by bosses not to work on the front line, or to divert them to other duties to try and protect them, to shield them. So yeah, we absolutely have to be more vigilant. Is there anything that you've learned then? Anything else you've learned from you know, the cancer treatment and the process that you've been through, which is helping you be more resilient in this time now?
I think when you have dealt with any life-changing issues, mine was breast cancer, you know, we've all had different things. I think it puts a lot of things into perspective. And for me, I think since completing my treatment, and I had the full works, I had the chemotherapy, I had the radiotherapy, so I had the operation, chemo, radiotherapy, the full works. So, and at the time when I was going through it, I was so focused on just going through the process that I think I didn't allow myself to take on board the seriousness of it. Coming through it, I was due to have my very first annual checkup a month ago, and because of COVID, that's now been put back.
Wow.
But since completing the treatment, for me, this is when it's began to sink in of how serious it was, and therefore I just give thanks on a daily basis that I am here. And as someone said, if you turn that switch in your head that says, I am safe at home, not that I am stuck, then it makes your whole feeling of being in the house different. And I give thanks every day that I am healthy. I'm not in hospital with COVID as I could have been.
Yeah.
So for me, I think what it's done is given me a greater appreciation of life, and therefore, and also I've always been one of these people who've got a positive outlook on things. So I've just tried to constantly build on that, to always, you tell me something that is happening to you, I'm going to be telling you something that's positive. That just comes natural to me. I'm going to tell you to look at it in this way. It's just the natural way I deal with it.
Good.
And I think that's what dealing with breast cancer did. And now with this whole COVID, I just keep thinking, like everything else, it'll pass. This too will pass. So what do we get from that? And if what we get from that is more flexibility in work for some people, or what we get from that is more kindness from some people, then some good will have come out of it. And I think that's how I rationalize the whole situation.
Yeah. I also think in some ways, I'd like to think that it might motivate people who feel like, okay, so something that I know work-wise has been wrenched away from me because of this, but what are the new opportunities? What are the new ways that I could be happy and kind of make income and how, provide some kind of value to people in the world? I think the opportunities are endless, although I fully understand everybody's challenges are completely unique. It's funny, I was just talking to Rowan Warmington, who's going to be on the Fabulous Man podcast. And he was telling me about how his son suddenly has just decided, right, I'm going to start writing songs and, filming some performances. And he's got recognised by... it sounds terrible, like I don't know who he is. Loyal Kana, a kind of quite a big London-based kind of grime rapper. He's been recognised by him. So just a change in mindset can help, and positivity. You're great to have around. I'm going to have you as a positivity queen on my shoulder, because I'm sometimes a little bit. I fight my negativity. Often, and I do try and see, the flip side, or see other things. I think it's also part of us being a journalist as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you have to see both sides, right? You have to see both sides as far as you can. Yeah.
And I think I had to really work on building that positivity. I would go to sleep every single night without fail, listening to some motivational, inspirational speaker.
Yeah.
That's, and even if you don't even know it's happening, that is changing you. It is changing you, because you will then find yourself saying things like, oh, I never used to do that. I never used to say it like that. And you're realizing that your thought process is changing. And I keep saying to people, that's not a one-off. That's just a changing. If we think, if you're 20, if you're 30, if you're 40, you've had all of those years of being told one thing and your mindset being built in one way, suddenly you want to change it. That's not going to happen overnight. Yeah. That's a process. Yeah. So you just have to take that time and build and build. And one day you will find yourself actually thinking in a more positive light, and you don't know where it came from.
Yeah,
but it's now the new you. So, it's like when I mentioned my book, I wrote the book while I was going through my chemo.
What did you? I didn't know that at all. Yeah. Okay, time. Give us the name of your book. Don't be afraid.
It's my book.
Yes, girlfriend. And
how to carry out media interviews.
Excellent.
And actually, it wasn't meant to be a book. It was something like yourself. I've been, as I said, with me, I've been really fortunate with the BBC. So when I was working with the BBC, I worked with a lot of community groups. And prior to the BBC, a lot of my voluntary work was with voluntary groups, and particularly BAME groups and charitable groups. And I always used to find that, you and I know our people will say, oh, the media is not interested in what we're doing and blah, blah, blah. And when you start working them, you realize, there's an issue. However, you're not approaching the media correctly.
Yep.
So sometimes you need some lessons on how to do it. So that was my initial thing. While I was working with the community groups, I used to always be kind of telling them what they ought to do, how they should approach the media, and so while I was ill, I started writing just little tips. And then I contacted a number of my ex-BBC colleagues and said, what are the key tips you would give to someone coming in for an interview? What would you want them to be, how would you want them to be prepared? And that was what formulated it. And I had a business coach at the time, and I was telling her, and she's like, oh, well, you've got to publish it. And I said, it's not really a book. It's just...
Oh, yes, it is.
And that's how it came about. And brilliant. Also, my assistant was just superb, because she would read everything, and then she would edit it for me, and between the two of them, she would just spur me on, and I think it took my mind off what I was going through.
Yeah. So
I think that, so for me, it was never meant to be, oh gosh, I'm writing a book and I'm going to be what it was for me, just something to express, give some advice, and also it's cathartic.
Yeah.
I'm,
And it came about organically as well. Like you said, a lot of people just go, right, okay, I'm at the stage in my career, I need to write a book because I need this.
Yeah.
Stepping stone to get to X. And it's like, it's beautiful. And, I'm not dissing people who do that.
No,
it's fine. It's your goal. So it's one of your goals. It's one of your goals. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
But I like how, like you say, it came organically, and it offers a lot of brilliant advice, invaluable advice, to help people, get recognized, or, do what they can and do the right things that they can to get recognized, to get that kind of media attention, the right kind of media attention, which ultimately will help them as a professional, or help them in their business kind of grow. Because, it often is the difference between a business that is flagging and one that is then propelled into new spaces, that gets new clients and all the rest of it, and lots of interest and attention. So, brilliant book. Where can we get it?
It's on Amazon, it's on Lulu, and it's on Barnes and Noble. So,
Awesome.
Or they can always contact me.
Okay, then
at least I can sign it.
Nice. Okay. Well, definitely going to put your website details out with this as well, so everyone will know if they want to approach you for a signed one.
Thank you.
So you were talking about food. Are there any new things that maybe you're watching, films, all that sort of stuff that you can recommend that, you can say to people, watch this because it's amazing?
Well, I tell you, and honestly, I am now watching Unorthodox on Netflix. Have you watched it?
You're about the 10th person who's been telling me about Unorthodox.
Honestly,
really? Is it that
so good? It is so good. And I just finished watching Self-Made, of course, about Madam C.J. Walker. I've just finished watching that one. But
I saw that too. That was interesting. Oh. Yeah. Fascinating.
And I think the thing with Madam CJ, because we knew the story, it was nice to just watch we know it's a dramatization, but at least it was good to get a sense of a bit more the relationship and the drive. And I mean, come on, that woman was something else.
She had a vision. She had a vision from day one, didn't she, to produce, to just help other women like herself just look good and feel confident about their own hair, which is a message that is still so important today. Yeah. It has not waned. It has not waned. So Unorthodox,
you must try and watch that. Self-Made, what else? And I'm a big fan of normal things like I still watch Grey's Anatomy. I still watch that because I'm still coming on.
I never went for that one,
Oh yes, so I'm still very much into my Grey's Anatomy. Yeah. My daughter's recommending I should watch You. I haven't started that one yet, so that's on my list.
I did watch that season 1. Couldn't quite get myself back into season 2, but season 1 is actually kind of quite amazing. Literally, the first 5 seconds, you'll be like, "What?" Okay. And it reels you. It reels you in from the opening line. Yeah.
And Killing Eve is, I just love that.
Okay, we've been resisting that. I don't know why, but no, I'm going to do it. Yeah, your reaction definitely going to stop resisting.
Especially the thing with Killing Eve, and the writers, I mean, she's wonderful anyway, is, what's your name, who did?
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah.
She is just amazing. Yeah. I've never watched something where there's a serial killer that you actually love.
Is really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's
honestly,
really...
you love that serial killer and you're in hysterics.
Wow. Okay.
And she's a serial killer who doesn't care at all about what she does.
Wow.
And yet you have warmed to her and she makes you laugh I mean, I think that's why I think Phoebe has just done a phenomenal job, because it's not the kind of thriller that we're used to. And normally you would want that person caught, and this, instead of this one, you just don't want them to catch her.
You just want to see what she does next. Oh my.
So
Okay,
those are fine. But if you have unorthodox, I'm glad lots of people have recommended, because it's definitely worth watching.
I'm on that then, because I'm looking for something new. Because we just finished all 3 seasons of Ozark on Netflix, which is
I haven't seen that one.
outstanding. And I didn't realize how much it was valued in the television community in America, because Jason Bateman, who's one of the main stars and a director, I think he won Best Director of a Drama Series at the Emmys. Okay. And one of the main actresses won Best Supporting Actress, Julia Garner. So then when I saw that, I thought, okay, then it is as good as I thought it was.
Yeah, The Morning Show is also a good one. Us as journalists, The Morning Show I liked. Yeah.
Oh, I like Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah.
I've always liked her.
And Reese Witherspoon is good.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm definitely going to do that, because I think I got free. Doesn't everybody get free Apple Plus for a year or something? I don't know. I've definitely got free. Yeah. Okay, cool. Books you're reading, anything like that? Are you doing anything new? Because a friend of mine says she does knitting now. She took up knitting.
Oh, I saw.
No, I know, it's great. Again, I'm only joking. When I do that, I'm not like being.
I used to. Years ago, I used to knit, and I knit one my brother-in-law used to do. He used to play cricket, and I knitted them cricket jumpers with all those cabling up there, and I don't even know if I'd know how to read a pattern now. Yet I was a full-blown knitter. But no, I don't. But I haven't done that for years and years. I read, and I have, what's the book? I've just started it, and I can't kind of get my head. I'm just starting to read Noughts and Crosses.
Okay, yeah.
And
that's
Mallory Blackman.
Yeah.
And I mean, I started it because I think it's because I'd missed the series. I didn't watch the series. And my daughter had the book, so she said, "Oh, well, read the book." So I've started reading Noughts and Crosses. It's good, but I don't know whether my head isn't in the right place at the moment. I think I've got 2 books on the go, but I'm not concentrating.
Yeah, you got to do one, haven't you? One, and be really into one and pursue it to the end. Yeah, that's what I find. If when you've got a big pile of books and you're like, I've got to get through these. These are recommendations,
exactly.
And you've got them there. And if you mix them up, I personally find it harder. So it might be just close one and go, I'm going to come back to it.
Focus. Yeah, I've just finished one called She Said Yes. And strangely enough, that one was recommended by my pastor. And it's to do with the school shooting in America. The first big one. Yeah, it's the young girl that was killed in the school shooting. It's written by her mother.
Whoa!
And it's really. I finished that one in a day.
And was that not dramatic? Was it telling the story of everything that happened? Was it?
It went into what happened, but it was more about her daughter before she died, before she got killed, and then she's telling the story of what people have told her about how her daughter behaved on the day.
What?
And it's the story. The head said she said yes was because one of the shooters. It's a Columbine. It was Columbine, wasn't it?
Do you know, my brain was going Columbine.
Yeah, I think it was Columbine.
Yeah.
One of the shooters, when he was going around, he was asking them, do they believe in God? Do you believe in whatever? Geez. And that's what, when he held the gun to her, he said, "Do you believe in God?" And she said, "Yes." Yeah. So it's good. It's good. But it's lovely because the mother, she didn't glamorize her daughter up to which is sometimes, people say, "Oh, don't speak ill of the dead," but no, she was very much about her. It was a really raw story. But I literally spent, I think, a day. I bought the book came, I started reading it, and I couldn't put it down.
No way. Sounds really emotional.
So it's worth getting.
Okay.
And again, maybe because it's a story we think we know.
Exactly.
Even more interesting.
This is, from the horse's mouth, isn't it? From a family member, from a mother. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, before we go, any tips, hints, advice for anybody? Could you offer any for anybody who's kind of thinking, I'm struggling to kind of get through this lockdown? I'm getting a bit anxious about when they're going to ease the lockdown, because that's the narrative at the moment, isn't it? Anything to help people kind of cope going through this, because we don't know, it might be extended, mightn't it? It might not. Any advice for anyone who's kind of worried, anxious?
No, I think my thing, and I've done this, and I'm sure you have with your student. When I met up with my students virtually on Tuesday, and we talked about, there were a number of them that really have been struggling. And my advice to them, as it would be to anyone else, is acknowledge that you have a right to feel what you're feeling. Sometimes we beat ourselves up because we're not coping. We think we should be, what's going on. No, you have a right to feel what you're feeling and acknowledge whatever it is that you're feeling. The only reservation I would have is at some stage, you can't just bury yourself in the negativity. You got to give yourself permission to feel it, but you've also got to get out of it, because it's out of our control. And also the other thing I firmly believe in, and maybe this is because as a Christian, I have strong faith and I have strong beliefs. And maybe I've been proven time and time again that whenever I think things, oh my gosh, how am I going to manage? There's no jobs for next month. Where the money's going to come from? Out of the blue, something comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's just how things are. For me, it's a different belief as to why it happens. But what I'm saying is, just tell yourself, this too will pass. I really live by that term. This too will pass.
Yeah.
If you get up one day and you don't feel like getting out of bed, so what? Stay in bed. Stay in bed. Yeah. Get up the next morning, shower, get dressed, and make yourself ready for that day. But if you don't feel like it on that day, so be it. We're all entitled to having our down. I try to stay positive, and in most cases I am. But for whatever reason, last week, one day, I just felt weepy. I don't know where it was coming from. I couldn't tell you that something had triggered it, but it just felt like, you just felt weepy. And that's fine. The next day, I don't feel like that.
Absolutely. I think I totally agree. We've got to give ourselves permission to feel what we feel. I had 2 down days just after Easter too, and just was like floored. I couldn't even make sense of it. But, I was just floored. Didn't do anything for 2 whole days. Just sat and just kind of. But then, you pick yourself up and you just kind of go, right, okay, the gratitude. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I can do things. I can occupy my mind in different ways. I can focus my attention on different things. I can look at being more creative, do some more work. Look for new work, reskill myself. Try a new hobby, watch a new show, read a new book. Everything. Grasp it all and use it. Grasp it all and use it. But Evadney, thank you so much. It's been amazing.
It's been a real pleasure. I could have gone on and on and on. Thank you.
Definitely could have done a whole other. I don't know whether anyone would join us, but we would be here for another hour or 2.
You and I could carry on talking.
Yeah, totally. Right? Listen,
thank you.
Thank you so much. You are awesome. Thanks for tuning in to another story of inspiration, triumph and joy. I've got lots more fabulous women available for you to listen to right now, so subscribe and download them for a listen. Stay tuned, stay connected. We're on YouTube at Raging Brum and on Instagram at The Fabulous Podcasts. See you soon. The Fabulous Woman Podcast is a Raging Brum production.